Hello, and welcome to the Media Center's 11th Local Hero Award Series, in which we showcase 6 people from the Mid-Peninsula for outstanding achievement or contributions to the community. We solicited nominations and were especially looking for the unsung heroes. Each winner is an inspiration and each has a great story to tell. Margo McAuliffe was a math teacher at Menlo Atherton High School. When her husband retired, he begged her to retire too, so they could spend more time together, which she eagerly did. But fate had other plans for her, plans of tragedy and of triumph, dreams dashed and dreams come true. In 2005, she embarked on a journey that would result in the creation of a nonprofit that educates young people in Kenya. It's called Can You Help, as in, can you help? And it is now her full-time occupation and passion. Margo, tell me about your retirement plans and how they panned out.
Well, 6 months, I had planned to spend time with my husband, but 6 months after I retired, he had died. And then I was kind of left. It really devastated me. It took me a good 3 years to even kind of get my bearings. And I tried volunteering in various things and nothing quite panned out. But all the time there was this nagging memory of dreams of teaching math to girls in Africa. And so a friend of mine told me about a priest, Father Caridi, and we emailed back and forth. And he invited me to come. So I went in September of 2005. For my initial visit, which was only a couple of weeks.
So you got on a plane and went to Africa with certain expectations based on dreams. What did you find and how did what you find meet with your expectations?
Well, actually, I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what the school would be like. I didn't know where I would be living. Well, I'd be living in a little round hut and sleeping on the floor. As it turned out, I had very nice accommodations in the rectory, but I didn't know that. The school that I went to, which is called Archbishop Ndingi, which at that time was a mixed boarding school for boys and girls, looked like it'd been through a war zone. It was really not trashed, but it just, the word looks like dingy, and that's what it looked like. But the people were wonderful, and once I got over the initial shyness and they with me, we had wonderful times, and I just loved them. The kids were so appreciative, and they'd never had a white person come and teach them before. So that was really special for them and incredibly special for me. And I would just ask teachers, can I teach your class? What are you talking about at this hour? Can I teach that? Or I'd go in and observe the class, and the kids would say, can Margo teach us? So it was just kind of fun things like that, not particularly planned, spontaneous.
Well, you went in to teach, but you learned some things about their needs that shifted your focus.
Yes.
What was that?
Well, I began hearing about students who are going to be sent home for school fees, and I didn't know what that meant. And they explained that kids come with only partial fees, and the parents promise to pay what they can, and then sometimes they don't pay. And they have to send the kids home to get more money because the food has to be bought and the teachers have to be paid. So they said that there were about 6 kids who probably wouldn't be coming back because their parents couldn't pay, mostly single moms. So I asked to interview them, which I did. And they were wonderful kids, and they all had dreams of what they wanted to be. They wanted to be nurses or engineers. One boy wanted to be a priest. And it just broke my heart. So on each case I said, I'll see if I can, I said, I'm not making any promises, but I'll see if I can find a sponsor for you. And then there was another boy that I was told about who'd already gone home. His father had died when he was in elementary school. His mother died while he was sitting for the 8th grade exam. And he was a very bright boy, but he had only a sister who supported herself selling vegetables in the market, and she couldn't pay his school fees. So
what did you do and what happened?
So when I got home, I first thing I did when I walked in the house was call my daughter and tell her I was home safely and so on. And naturally, she wanted to know what was going on, what I had experienced, and I told her. And she said, well, how much does it cost to support a child, Mom? And I said, at that time, it was $650. It's now $800. And she said, oh, Tommy and I'll do that. And I said, wow, I didn't expect that. And then I called my son with a similar conversation. And he said, yeah, we can do that. And then I called a friend, and she asked me a lot of questions, and we talked, and she said, well, how are you going to raise this money for these kids? And I said, I don't know. Maybe I can use some of my tutoring money. I don't have any idea. And so she said, she didn't say much. We finished the conversation, and about a minute later, she called me back and said, I'll match everything you give up to $1,000. And so, like, that was within 20 minutes of the time I'd walked in the door.
So
And
you
it just
went
took
in.
off from there.
You went, yeah, sure did. You went in expecting to teach,
Yeah.
and came out as a fundraiser.
One of the things that I learned is that they had very good teachers, and that I had really planned to go there for a year. So my first trip was to exploratory, and then I would see whether I thought I could live there and what it would be like. And I said, I can't do that because I would be replacing somebody. That person would lose their job, and I can't do that. And so that's when I said to Father Caridi, you don't need me to come here and teach math. You need me to go home and raise some money. Oh, in the meantime, I forgot part of my story. I also learned that they had been phasing the girls out. So there were only girls in the last 2 years. No girls had been taken in for 2 years. So freshman and sophomore, forms 1 and 2. And I was outraged because my whole issue is educating girls. And I actually said, are you nuts? So what are the girls going to do? And he said, we have a plot of land, and we hope to build a new high school for them, but we don't have any money. And that's when I said, I'll see if I can go home and raise some money to help you build your school. But my thoughts were modest, like maybe I could raise $10,000, or if I worked really hard, maybe 20.
So so far, you've got a school to raise money for.
Yeah.
You also have these individual kids who couldn't pay the fees.
Yeah.
In reverse order, what happened with those individual kids who couldn't pay the fees?
I was able to find sponsors for each of them, and they all came back to school, except one girl who had gotten pregnant in the meantime, and that is an issue that happens a lot. In fact, that was the reason they were phasing the girls out, because they were getting pregnant, as teenagers are teenagers, the world around.
Well, exactly. What happens to girls that are phased out, that don't go to school?
They don't have a big future. If they don't have a high school education, they don't have much of a future. They might find a job selling things in the market, but that's really meager. Or they get married very young. If they're out in the rural areas, they're often almost sold. The dowry system in the rural areas is still in place. So, there's a number of camels and cows and goats, and it's kind of a set price. And the girl has no say in who marries her, who she marries. She might be the third wife of some old man, and she ends up doing all the hard work and, being his favorite bed partner. And she might be 15 and bearing children, and her body isn't ready for that. So there are all kinds of physical things that happen to them as well.
Wow. So you come back with this, having promised, not knowing how.
I didn't promise. I just said I'd try.
But you did.
Yeah.
Tell me, after those initial promising phone calls, about the series of events that unfolded.
Oh, wow. I went to my book club, and one of the members of the book club offered to have a coffee, and that coffee was very successful. People were very generous, and I just did a little PowerPoint. I'd never done PowerPoint before, so one of the things I had to do was learn that. And then other people at that event were interested and helped me. One was a woman who coached a basketball team, and they were 6th graders. They ended up raising $40,000 for us to pay for, among other things, a basketball court at the new school. But
Wow.
yeah, so just people just got interested, and it kind of intrigued them that this, at that time, almost 70-year-old woman was going off to Africa and doing these things. And I was hiking on the hill up by the dish, and a friend of mine said, "Gee, I haven't seen you for a while, Margaret. What have you been doing lately?" And when I told her, she said, "Oh, I want to help you." And she became one of the first members of our board and has done incredible fundraising, probably raised close to $50,000,
Wow.
maybe more. I don't know, I never added it up.
There were a couple of other unexpected boons that came your way.
Yes. A friend of ours knew, so first of all, a law firm on the peninsula offered to do our 501c3 pro bono. So we just had to pay the fees, but we didn't have to pay any attorney fees. Another one was a donation right when we really needed it of $10,000 by an anonymous donor. But just little things along the way. Sorry, I can't remember.
Well, I'm wondering how much you expected this, and how totally unexpected this was.
My expectations were that maybe I could raise $10,000 or $20,000, and it became more than that almost immediately, and I was stunned. I had no idea. But I also had people who encouraged me and said, "Okay, Margaret, you can do this, and here's an idea," and because I'm a math teacher. What do I know about raising funds?
Well, more than you thought. You went back after the first year, and you've
Yes.
gone back ever since.
Yeah.
Tell me about the progress that you saw.
Well, the second summer, I went for the whole summer. So that was 3 months. And I watched the school being built. Father Creedy and I did a groundbreaking little ceremony. And so I was at the site of the girls' school a lot, but I was also back at Archbishop Dingy teaching. And I instituted something, because August is a school break there. I instituted what they call tuitioning, which it was like an opportunity for kids to come. And I just said, anybody, any high school kid who wants to come talk about math, will to work for 2 or 3 hours. In the first year, I think I had 10 or 12 kids. And we did it at Archbishop Dingy. And the kids just came. And one of them was a boy that I hadn't met. He didn't go to that school, but he had heard that I was going to do it. And he used to meet me at the rectory door where I stayed and walk up the hill with me to Archbishop Dingy. It was about a 35-minute walk. And he's a boy I got to know very well. And we ended up supporting him. He has now finished his 3-year medical training and is a community health worker, supported all these years by Can You Help?
You also have done work with the orphans that was a little bit separate.
Yes. So after the second year, I moved into the orphanage, which is in the compound of the parish. So again, about 35-minute walk from Archbishop Dingy. And at that time, there were about 35 kids ranging in age from less than a year to maybe 14 or 15. And so over the years, I've watched those kids grow up. And now they call me Shosho, which means grandmother, or just Shosh.
Oh, that's nice.
I talked to one on the phone the other day, and he says, "Hi, Shosh." So we promised those children that we would educate them to the degree that they were capable. And there's a huge range from 2 girls who are learning to knit in a school that will teach them these really basic skills. One of them actually hasn't been able to master that and has had to leave. 2 kids who are in medical school.
Wow.
And there's a girl studying engineering in India. There are kids doing nursing, medical technology, communication.
I'm thinking of some of the things in your programming, not just the building, that you have kind of instituted that reflect their needs. What are some of the needs, psychological and otherwise, that these students have that we might not think of? I'm thinking you bring in kind of role models.
I well, yes, I like to model my own teaching style, which is much more interactive. The teaching style there tends to be kind of rote learning, and you memorize a process instead of understanding the mathematics involved. So that's my teaching style. And I just noticed the other day someone had left a message on our message board. A student I taught at some point, I don't even remember this boy, but he said, I finished my high school and took the KCSE, and I did very well. Thanks because you taught me the math in that tuitioning program that I did in August. So, and that program is going, we have about, I think we had about 35 kids this summer, and I involved some of the children in the orphanage to do some of the teaching. One boy who's studying to be a teacher of math and science, another boy who's doing the medical, and he did biology, and another teacher, math teacher came in because we had a lot of kids doing math. So that program has really grown and prospered.
I'm thinking also about self-esteem, for lack of a better word, and
Yeah.
and how you approach that, and how different that is from in the U.S., for example.
Well, it's not different in the U.S. in that girls have this sense that they're not good at math. And I just say, I'm a girl. I like math. And often the math teachers are women. I say, Madam so-and-so is a girl. She likes math. She's good at math. You can do math. And I really try to encourage them and let them know that they can do it. And I think that I do it with both the boys and the girls, but, my heart is with girls.
When you look back at this incredible sequence of events, is it more, what is the role of serendipity as opposed to, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and how much did things fall into your lap, and what has that done to your worldview?
Well, I would say more of the serendipity things are things that have happened outside of the school, where people would invite me to their homes for events, and sometimes I wouldn't know that it was going to happen. For example, the gate man at the school became a friend because I used to give him books. He loves to read. And he invited me to tea at his home. And when I got there, there was a room full of women. And it turned out they were there for what they call a mutual, I forget the term they use, but they meet once a month and contribute money, and the hostess gets that money. So once a year or so, they get a nice pot of money. And but this particular one was also welcoming his son into manhood. So there was this whole ceremony that was going on. I thought I was just going to tea, but I could see, how, and the father came in, and he was asked to give his son to the women were giving his son to him because the mothers raised him to begin with. And there was all this kind of back and forth and teasing going on. It was just wonderful, and the kind of opportunity that, how would I ever have that?
If you look back to, let's say, your last year teaching math at MA, if somebody had described what you just described and said, this is going to happen to you, what would you have thought?
I thought, to me? I don't think so, because I never would have imagined at that point that I would be teaching any place. I thought I was going to be with my husband. So it's just like a whole world that happened really because of his death. And it's a gift in a way of him to free me to do that. And I couldn't ever say that I was glad that he died, because I wasn't. But this has been another lifetime of experience for me that I would never have had.
What have you learned? How have you changed over these years?
Oh, wow. Let me count the ways. I think the thing that I continue to learn is how not to be the ugly American who comes and knows everything they should do, and why don't you do this and you do this way, without knowing their own culture and mores, and being much more sensitive. And that's an ongoing learning opportunity. And I every once in a while still stick my foot in my mouth. But I'll just tell you one fun thing that happened the very first year. I'd been told that I needed to wear skirts by a girl who'd been in Lesotho in the Peace Corps. So the first day I went to Dingy was on a Saturday, and I wore my jeans. Father Caridi told me it was okay. So I said to the teachers that I was talking to, these are women, I said, don't worry, I did bring skirts because I understand African women don't wear pants. And they said, that's not true. They were outraged, and I thought, well, I don't know, I understand why they're so outraged. Well, it turns out pants means underwear to them.
Right.
So after we sorted that out, we laughed, and it was a wonderful icebreaker. And those women have become, and still are, best friends, you know. But it was all just because we had that funny experience. But that sort of thing of just not understanding the more, and they call them trousers. They do wear trousers in Naivasha.
Right, right. What about life lessons, as it were? I guess I'm searching for wisdom for people who may now be where you were, which is looking at retirement. Is there an encore career? Because there are a lot of people, increasing numbers. What do you have to pass on?
Well, for a long time, I believed that every single person has a gift, and that our job is to figure out what the gift is and how we can give that gift. So for me, my gift was a math teacher. I love teaching math. What I've learned is that you can't do a lot, but you can do a little. And that's what you need to do, is a little. And sometimes a little grows into more than you had imagined, which has certainly been the case here. But like, everybody can see, here's a problem, and I can't solve that whole problem, but I can make this little contribution. That's been the most important thing that I've learned and continue to learn.
Excellent. Well, good luck as you continue to grow and learn. And congratulations, and thanks very much for coming.
Oh, thank you for doing this.
Do you know someone who has overcome significant hardship and has an inspiring story to tell? Someone who has sacrificed or given over and above to the community and deserves some recognition? If so, please contact us with your nomination for next year's Local Hero Awards. To find out more about our local heroes and to watch interviews with all of the winners, visit our website, midpenmedia.org. At the Mid-Peninsula Community Media Center, you can make your own videos and television programs and take classes in all aspects of media production. You can also hire our professional services team. To find out more about that, go to mcproservices.com. Congratulations to all our winners, and thank you for watching.